my mantra. It's like, what if it all works out? Like some version of that will work out because like painting a picture that you're gonna make.
Hello, today I'm joined on 5 Life Questions here with Andrew Peters. He's going to check me on that pronunciation later, but we're so excited to get to hear his story, recently recognized by Rhea. We'll first get to hear him, kick things off, then of course we'll get to rewatch Rhea's message, and then we'll dive into these questions. Right on, Andrew, why don't you kick us off by telling us a little bit about where you're at in life today?
My name's Andrew. I am 29 years old. I was born and bred in Sydney, Australia, and I moved to New York about 4 and a bit years ago now. Career-wise, I was in strategy consulting for a long time, and I've recently pivoted towards tech. So I'm pretty much that classic, crazy Aussie expat that is running around the country and the world.
Very fun. On speaking to the side that we don't see, more on that mental health side of things, where are you at mentally?
Good question. I think mentally struggling a lot. I think like the chaos of life, the anxieties of life, trying to do a million things at once, trying to fulfill your creative potential while also managing your professional obligations and keeping it all together. While also, again, as an expat, I think it's a pretty unique situation having to manage friendships and relationships in both like your home country and the country with which you've chosen to live in. So I would say, like a lot of people, mentally, it's tough.
Yeah, yeah, right on. Not right on about the struggles, but I think those are definitely relatable as far as managing community and yeah. Also, I love what you say about trying to find and pursue, make the most of, maximize our creative potential. And I
Yeah,
think we'll talk more about that shortly because it's something that Rhea kind of hints at. So why don't we go ahead and transition over to that?
let's do it.
Andrew, I honor you for your contagious lust for life. You are someone who lives every single day to the fullest, and you always, always go the extra mile. Whether you're texting me to go to Greece a week before the actual flight, it's always just spontaneity and amazing when it comes to doing life with you. You are someone that is so supportive for the people that are around you. I can't tell you enough how grateful I am that you kind of gave me that lifeline when I really needed it, when you went to Australia and let me stay in your place in New York and just kind of really made me feel like my home was your home. You're my chosen family in this life. And something that really, really inspires me about you is your passion and your drive. The fact that you're balancing this amazing corporate job, but writing this Golden Globe Emmy nominated script, manifesting it, kind of just goes to show that you go after what you want and you follow your dreams and passions, and it really inspires me to do the same. I love you so, so much, and I'm just really grateful to have you as a constant in my life.
That was so sweet. I'm literally gonna cry and text her. I'm literally just gonna text her right now, just saying
Sure.
just
Yeah, I love it. I
so
love it.
you know.
What's kind of going through your mind as you hear that? Let's peel it back a little bit.
I just think like Rhea and I's relationship is just so special because like we met in a professional corporate environment and she's one of those people that you just meet and you instantly know that you're going to have a lifelong connection and a bond with, that that they're going to call you out for your shit, that you're going to treat them more like a sister than a girlfriend. um and I think she just like validates a lot of what we both like want to get out of life. Like we were fortunate enough to live in LA together for 3-4 months during 2020, and that was some of the best months of my life. We just have a very similar outlook, and we're always challenging each other, and we're always supporting each other, and it is incredibly genuine. Like it is just one of those friendships that you would never struggle to say it is a genuine, authentic relationship. Like
Yeah.
you have no secrets, nothing, like no insecurities, and you're just like you're there for each other in like the worst of worst, and you raise each other to be the best of the best. That's kind of
Yeah.
like my take on it. Like she really is the best.
She had some incredible adjectives to describe you by. I'm going to rattle some of these off. First, she honored you for your lust for life. She was supported by spontaneity, how supportive you are, and that going all the way to calling you a lifeline. When you hear some of these things, how do they resonate with you?
I mean, she is like spot on. We talk about each other's lust for life because we both like recognize that about each other, and we've also like fulfilled it in a certain way. We've both acknowledged that we want to live in different places. We want to experience every single kind of adventure and feeling and an event and moment. And yeah, we really are each other's lifelines. I think she said it in the video that like chosen family is such a big like motif and theme for people that live out of their like not even just their home but like their home countries during their 20s. I mean, I have my own group of chosen family in New York, who are my lifeline, but then I also have Rhea, who's on the other side of the country, who is that like objective, third party when I need like someone to really talk to and depend on. So yeah, I just, her video is so sweet, and I like will call her after this because it just like it just validates so much about our like friendship and bond to another level.
Let's go ahead and dive into these deeper questions. You feel ready for it?
Let's do it.
So I'd like to start out at values. I think values is kind of that place that gives us that sense of fulfillment just most naturally. And as we get older, they kind of start to solidify just, having life experiences, gathering data. So that question for you now is, what are your top 3 core values?
I was thinking about this a lot today because I think it's such a loaded question. I think there's also like so much blurring between the lines of like values to characteristics to like personality traits. And I think values like bleed into what you look for in your friendships and relationships and, making decisions, like you look for all those things. But I think when it boils down to like the definition of values, I think I landed on these 3. So they are, one is optimism, like that is my highest value. Second is openness, and then third would be loyalty within like the realm of friendship and relationships. So those would be my 3, and I'm like more than happy like to double click on each of these, which I assume we will.
Yes, please. Why don't you go ahead and just kick it off?
So with optimism, it's so interesting because like a lot of people in my life will comment on the fact that like you're a crazy optimist. You'll always see like the light of a situation. You'll always choose, even when things are like really in the shit, or you're on like a 6-hour flight delay, or you're stuck in like the middle of a crowd with your friends and everyone's like angry and hungry, and like I'm thinking about Coachella, and I'm just like I don't know whether it's like you're either born with optimism or you just like naturally gravitate towards being optimistic in situations. But I even remember like my very first corporate job, like everyone does this like strengths finder, and you answer this like 2-hour questionnaire, and it's like so scarily accurate. And then they plotted you against like 34 strengths or something. It's like run by this company called Gallup. And my number 1 strength was futuristic, which I like really relate back to optimism as a value, because I am a serial believer that everything works out. Like, rejection is redirection, that, make the most of today. Like there'll always be a tomorrow. Like I am so fiercely optimistic when it comes to every situation. And I don't know if that's like an overinflated sense of confidence, or if it's just a belief that everything does work out, and if it doesn't work out, then it's not the end, and there is an alternative scenario or situation that you're going to have to color in or design for yourself. But that for me is my number 1 value. Like if I can't be around people that are negative or pessimist, like I will call them out for it. I just think that there's so much happiness and love and kindness in life to live that people who aren't optimistic are really missing out. That's like my fiercest belief and value.
When it comes to, I love what you said, rejection is just a redirection. It's so rich. And my brain also jumps to, I wonder if that's nature or nurture. And I love that you've thought about that.
Yeah. I really don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's tainted by if things work out for you, or if you're incredibly lucky, or even when you do have hardship, you're resilient and you see through it, or even when you have been dealt like a bad card, like it does work out. Like I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, I just am so optimistic, and I think it's such an important value to have in someone.
Rejection and redirection. What's the furthest, like most unexpected redirect that you have taken a rejection and then landed in?
Yeah, it's like and I was like, it's so funny that you're talking about this because I knew you'd pick up on it. And it's like, I'm going to talk about it in like my accomplishment and my words of wisdom. But
Yeah.
like the biggest moment when I realized that rejection is redirection is just, I was really pushing to move from Sydney to New York. And it was with
Mhm.
like my former consulting company, and a lot of people like trying to push you down and fit you inside like this mold and like not enable you to achieve certain things, or just allow you to do certain things because there was no precedent, or they had different expectations or perceptions towards your trajectory. And I do think it boils down to like willing to not burn bridges, but willing to like actually really put yourself out there and accept the outcome if it's something that you really want. And for
Mm.
me, I am so willing, and I look back on it with like a sense of gratitude. But there were certain like corporate relationships that I was willing to burn to make my move to New York happen. And it did happen. And sure, like it was testy for the first couple of months because I was like trying to sever the tie between where I was coming from and like where I was going. But if I
Mm.
think about it, that's probably like the highest form of like rejection that I was like ultimately orchestrating because I wanted to get to this new avenue and redirecting myself. But I think that's probably the biggest one that I've experienced in life so far.
Small thing there that I gotta double click on. You said landed in this avenue. So often people are thinking about the destination. And then
Yeah,
once you get to the destination, the grass is greener, right? But I've never heard anyone say put it that way. So I was just trying, now that I'm at this avenue that has direction. So
yeah,
then
exactly.
when you
I knew everything was going to change once I got there. And I was like, and I really had to like
mm,
just pause for a second and be like, okay, wow, I did that. Now it's like time to fully like unlock this new chapter and
mm,
part of your journey. That's probably the example that I would choose for me.
there's incredible power in that stick to itiveness, in that keep going mentality. There's so much to discover. Flip side of that would be, do you have a hard time to like stop, smell the roses?
Totally. I'm always thinking
Mm,
ahead. I'm always putting myself against like lofty and ambitious goals. And I try to always like revel in the present and like be grateful for everything that I have and I've been given. But yeah, I think everyone struggles with being like, okay, this is what you have. Like
yeah,
feel like appreciate it and
yeah,
realize that like you only can get to the next spot if you realize what you have is helping you get there. Like you
yeah,
can't do it agnostic of knowing what you have.
yeah. True that. I could talk more about this. This is such a fun rabbit hole, but we're
Yeah.
gonna just go on for hours if we do. Let's get to the second core value. That is
Yes. So the second
openness.
one for
Yeah.
me is openness. And I think about openness in a lot of ways. It's
Mm,
being open to all different types of adventures, it's being open to all different types of opportunities, and just like putting yourself in situations and scenarios that you typically wouldn't find yourself by either saying yes or by like over committing to things and just being open to a lot. And I think like where I've experienced that the most is just like, again, moving to New York is like such a like pivotal moment in my life, and being open to meeting new types of people, like going out and experiencing different environments and situations that I would never have found myself had I stayed home in Australia. I just think openness is such a powerful value because without openness, I truly don't think anyone can grow. And I think when people are the antonym, I guess, is like being closed off. When people are so closed off from
yeah.
new situations or changing or like challenging the status quo, I think it's like a very dangerous position to be in. So like for me,
Mm,
openness is number two because I've been open towards everything, like trying skiing, like open to traveling by myself, open to like saying yes to an event in New York and like not knowing a single person in the room and like having to like force yourself to like exit the elevator and just like put yourself in that room and then you're fine afterwards. But I
yeah.
just think openness for me is so important because I would never have met the people that I've met or done the things I've done without being open.
Is there a difference between openness and open-mindedness?
I don't think so. I think they
Okay.
probably go hand in hand. Like I think
Yeah.
openness relates to, again, like it's relating to like, are you like allowing your mindset to like let a lot of other things in, and are
Yeah.
you open? Yeah, I think no, you're right. They are the exact same in my mind. They're
Okay.
the same.
Okay. Just curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. And then loyalty. Tell me about loyalty.
And then loyalty. I think loyalty is another value that I put up there because I think it's you experience different moments where people that you think would be loyal to you for life choose to be disloyal, whether they think it or not, or they make decisions that like unintentionally hurt you. But it's up there for me recently just because of like where you are in your life. And like I think like when you reach like when you're heading towards like 30, you start to think like through the people that are truly truly loyal and truly there for you, whether that's family and friends. And I think it's such an important value because it comes from a place of like they have like nurtured fulfilling relationships. So it's actually for me an indicator of like the future of like that outcome, because if they are not, then you're probably going to get to a like you're probably not going to land in a good position without loyal relationships. That's where I'm coming from.
For sure. Right on. Let's move on to the next question then, kind of peeling a layer back here. And that is, where are your fears at in life today?
I mean, it's another loaded question. But I would say like my number one current fear is probably not realizing the true creative potential that I like believe I have. I think fear and opportunity go hand in hand, because if I'm not afraid of it, then I'm not going to push myself to ultimately achieve it, because I know that I will in some way, shape, or form. And this comes back to that like sense of optimism and confidence that I just have. But yeah, the current fear would definitely be like not being able to realize my creative potential and ambition and dream that I have, because I'm either bogged down in the reality of like a corporate professional environment, which, you know, like as an expat and as like most human beings, we need to like fulfill to like live the life that we want to live. And you know, there's other expectations and conditions on being an expat, like needing a job and a visa and these other things that, you know, put you like keep you in certain positions, maybe for longer than you would ideally like to be in. But yeah, that's my fear. Like it's not realizing my creative potential.
Would you be so kind as to share like a firm example as to like what that looks like today? A goal you have, something that kind of just adds context to that risk of what you're working on.
I mean,
and therefore
I think so. Like, I mean, Rhea probably talked to you about it, but like, I am trying to sell a script at the moment. So I'm trying to pivot from like technology into entertainment. And so I think like what goes hand in hand with that is like managing your like daily 9 to 5, and then also like devoting the energy, time, and effort into like actually making it happen. Because like you could have a great product, but if you don't have like the time, resource, or capacity to like really push hard on it, it's not going to happen. And so I think I often fall for me it's like a sine curve. Like I ebb and flow in terms of like getting really psyched up about it and like having 20 leads that I'm like following and sending it out to, and just like getting feedback and pushing it out. And then I like fall victim to like, oh, work is really busy, or I have like 3 trips planned in the next 3 months, so like I don't have like the mind space to push on it. But that's like the example. It's like I have a great script that I've written with a writing partner, and I'm just so adamant and like aggressive that I want to sell it and pivot into entertainment. So yeah, that's the example. It's managing and balancing everything, which is so tough.
Sure. Is that just for fun? Is that TV, like a musical?
Yeah, it's for television.
It's for TV. Right on.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Any other fears?
Another fear would be just like preserving the relationships that I want to preserve, and hopefully like nurturing them to a point where they are like I think it's like, you know, when you turn 30, again, like 30 is such like a misnomer, and it's such a, you know, mind fuck, and just like it's just not a valid benchmark. But for a lot of people, like in this stage of life, like if you are 30 and you're an expat and you live overseas, you kind of at that point where you're like, okay, which people are these are the ones that are going to be in my life 10 years from now, versus these are the ones that I'm going to meet out or meet in an environment in New York or living abroad that I'll never see again the day after, even though I think we may have had a really great connection. I think the fear just goes back to like not knowing which relationships are going to work out forever.
For sure. Oh yeah, especially when you tag that last word at the end there, forever. That's a really high bar to try to reach, right?
Yeah. But that's like and I think that's why like people like Rhea and I like put so much value on friendships and relationships because like we do invest in them and we like expect them to work out and like have some longevity to them. It's not like these, you know, fickle things that you never come back to. I think they are like, we choose to invest our time really wisely, and what comes with that is like expectations and standards with, you know, friendships and things like that.
True that. I don't think there's anything wrong with having expectations and standards for the people that we want to keep investing in our lives. So
Exactly.
yeah, true that. On paper, I'm curious, you've got such a driving and confident personality that is behind a curiosity, and I'll borrow from Rhea here, a lust for life. I'm curious, when it comes to that loyalty, has that ever been a point of conflict where that might come off as like overly ambitious or I don't know, like untrustworthy because you have to put so much of you first?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's an interesting question because I like always lead with personality and getting to know. Like, my rule of thumb is always like, if someone asks you a question, like you better like return with another question back to them, because like if someone, like if I ask someone 3 questions and they haven't asked me a single question, then I'm just like, I'm out. Like I'm gonna like grab my drink and like walk out.
Sure.
But I think I think what your question is trying to get at is, I have experienced friendships and relationships where that I've always felt that that person is trying to pitch themselves versus like getting to know you and finding common ground. So I don't think I've ever experienced a moment where someone's been like, oh, he's full of himself or he's super confident and super ambitious. I think it's just like the energy that I like exude, because I take like a lot of pride in like having a lot of energy and wanting people to like suck that energy and just like and take from it and make it more like I'm the big believer in like 1+1 = 3. Like I bring two people together and then something larger than the two of them individually forms. So I don't think it's ever worked. It hasn't worked in my favor, but I think you do have to be careful around like your intentions when you do meet someone new, whether you like lead with what you want to get out of that friendship or relationship or connection, or you like lead as a human and try and like find common ground first, and then be like, oh, this is like what I want to get out of life, or like, can you help, versus like what can you do for me?
Right. And then I'm starting, I'm just so curious. I want to keep chipping away at this optimism and this confidence that comes with it. I'm curious, I'm curious on the nurture side of things. What's the hardest no you've ever received?
So, this is such an interesting question for me because I don't know if there has been like such a hard no that I've had to be like, holy shit, like I don't know what to do. I think the no, let me just think about this for a sec because it's so interesting. I mean, like there have been times like when I was growing up, but like these things are like there's such like a distant memory for me that like at the time I probably thought that this was like the worst thing to ever happen to me. But like, when you're like a teenager and you're being broken up with like by someone that you think you're in love with and going to get married to, and then it's like you're being told, no, I don't want to be with you. Like those are probably like the hardest no's. I don't think there's been like a professional no yet that's like really hit me. I think it's always been a no, but like, what about this?
Yeah.
But I'm sure I have a future full of no's coming my way with what I want to do. So there'll be no shortage of no's coming.
We'll tack on answers to that question later on. Then.
Yeah.
Right on. How do you delineate? Now I'm fully off the rails. How do you delineate how you process a no, like in a relationship, from a no in like professional development?
It's the same mentality that people have with like the yes and like people. There's this whole like corporate buzzword at the moment that everyone's saying like yes and, which is just I think like kind of foolish because they ultimately like want to get their perspective or like recommendation over yours. I think it's like it's a no but. It's like you can say no, but what about this? Or no, okay, how about this attempt or like this approach or this method? Which again just comes back to my optimism, because it's like if someone tells me no, I'm just like, no, like what about this? I'm just like, I don't know, like for some reason, like maybe it's cocky. Like I'm sure like that's the perception that like some people can construe, right? But I actually think it is more so from like the vein of optimism than cockiness. It's like if someone presents you with a no, it's like, okay, what's my second best option? Like I'll give you an example. This is a crazy example. I was checking in for a flight the other day. I like didn't have any status with this airline. I previously had status with them like a week ago. Then they refreshed it. Then I was being told it was going to be like $200 to check in my like skis and boot bag. And I was like, no, like how can I get this down to $0? And then the check-in agent was like, sign up for this credit card. And I was like, fine, I'll sign up for this credit card. Like that's that's just an example of like how crazy I can take like the being told no. Like I wasn't swindled into signing up for a credit card. I actually like was kind of looking for a new credit card. So I was like, hey, this worked out for the best. Like not only do I get to check in my bags for free, but I'm getting a credit card on like 100,000 miles. Like fine, like dock my credit score. I don't care. That's just who I am.
Love it. You're gonna give me these points and a credit card?
Yeah,
sweet. I win.
I'm like, okay, fine. I'm down.
All right, we're gonna switch gears here. I like asking about fears. It sheds light on the fact that we're all going through something in life.
Totally.
But then when it comes to our successes in life, I believe that we are also not all that we appear to be. So the next question is, what is something that you are proud of that not a lot of people know about?
It's like a hard one because I think I share a lot of my life with like close friends and family, obviously. But I think like, and it doesn't really count as like a secret accomplishment, but like something that I'm like super proud of that not a lot of people know. Like I would have to say I got a job super young, and I think like super big kudos to my parents who just brought me up with the right values and the right mindset and an approach to life that a lot of people probably could benefit from and a lot of people have benefited from. But I like had a job like from 14 years old. I had a great job at a cinema, and I like worked hard in that job, and I like saved a lot of money and was super smart with just like how I like invested as like from a young age. And a lot of people like at that point are just like, one, either like don't have a job, or two, like don't know what to do, like, and have a limited financial literacy. And so I think like I was able to like buy my first investment property when I was super young, and I'm super proud of that because it just enabled me to like get into like a really hard property market, and it made me super financially literate from a young age. And I look back on that with a lot of pride, because I don't think, had I not done that, I probably wouldn't have the same like outlook and optimism for the future, because I think like by having, and I don't think of it as like a safety nest, or like a like something that you can like fall back on. I look on it as almost like okay, like you wanted to do something, you took the steps that you needed to get there, and you were successful in doing that, and you're super proud of like how that thing has grown and flourished ever since. So like I think that's like a big accomplishment that I'm proud of, because I would pass that advice on to anyone, and I would also like share it with like anyone that was open to it. I think it's again, I think it takes like a lot of, I think again, we talked about like all of the anxiety and stress. Like a lot of anxiety and stress comes from finances and just the general like, how am I going to get about this life? And again, there's a lot of ways that you can go about life, and I think one of them has to be like some sense of financial literacy and like setting yourself up for success. Like that's the point. That's the point of the example. It's like, how do you set yourself up in a way where things are working for you that you aren't putting energy and effort and time into? That's like the so what.
That's awesome. Okay, so you hinted at it, so let's just continue to roll on into it then. If you could pass some words of wisdom on to us.
Like I was gonna say like the whole rejection is redirection thing is just so, it's like so true, even at the most like at the micro level. Like even if things are like out of stock at the grocery store, like okay, now I can't make this recipe, or I can't have this for dinner, like just go and find something else. Like I really think that, again, like I think I'm overgeneralizing and simplifying rejection, because like people have a lot of hard feelings about the word rejection. But I truly think that if you put your energy into a situation and you aren't getting anything in return, then it is telling you to put your energy elsewhere. Like do not expend yourself and like waste limited resources, i.e. time, energy, etc., into things that aren't like refilling your battery back up to 100%. So I just think that, and again, it's anything, like if your job isn't fulfilling you, like then leave it. And I know that's oversimplifying it, but there are other things that you can do, like look for another team internally, you know, talk with other colleagues, etc., etc., etc. Like it's just figuring out like where you should best devote your energy and time. That for me
Yeah.
is like that is like the truest words of wisdom. Like if you want to take 6 months and travel, then go and do it, because you will get so many life lessons and experiences from that 6 months. If you want to like pick up a new skill or write a script, like even if that doesn't sell or doesn't work out, like you've picked up a new skill and you're like super proud of something that you've like created from scratch. So and again, I probably have to take on that advice more than I dish it out, because I dish it out to everyone. Like I tell all of my friends and close like confidants, like rejection is redirection. Just because this doesn't work out doesn't mean that it's not going to work out in a different avenue. And I am probably the stubborn one who doesn't take it, because I'm so fiercely optimistic that I like force things to work out. So I don't know. I've been reflecting on a lot lately. I just think everyone's got to live by that mantra.
Yeah. I can hear the kind of like the superficial objection to this being in the form of, yeah, but it's terrifying. You know, what if you get let down by the thing that you want to put your energy into, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't love you back. What would you say to that person?
I mean, that I would say like, yes, it is terrifying, but imagine what is on the other side of that fear. Like imagine you live a life of what ifs. How wasteful is that? Like how like it's just for me like to always like to question like the what if. That would be like my argument back to like, oh, but I'm scared, or oh, but what if it doesn't work out? I'm like, what if it does? Like, and if it doesn't work out, like what do you learn and what do you enrich yourself in that experience? Like you'll become a more fuller person, like a more experienced person. Like you'll feel different emotions, you'll feel like the full spectrum of life. And that's just like my mantra. It's like, what if it all works out? Like, and it will work out, because if it doesn't work out, then it's not the end, and you will take some variation or iteration of like the future that you want to build for yourself, and some version of that will work out. Because like again, when you like you're painting a picture that you know you're going to make, like it just is. I don't know, like again, I could be coming across as like, you know, crazy overconfident or just crazy unrealistic, but again, I think there's power in optimism, and I will always choose the what if over like I'm scared.
Yeah. All right, let's bring it home into this last question then, Andrew. This is my favorite question. And that question is, what is the best compliment that somebody could give you?
God, I hope a lot of people would say something in a similar thread, but it really is just when someone turns to you and say like, you make me feel like better about myself, and I like get so much energy and happiness from spending time with you. Like I think that's the best compliment anyone, and people have given that to me in the past, which is why I like am so hell-bent on nurturing these like really satisfying and fulfilling relationships. Because for me, like call it like, again, we talked about values, but like for love language, like quality time is my number one. Like when you spend quality time with someone, you leave that room feeling so much better about yourself and better about life. And so yeah, I think like the best compliment is just like, you give me so much energy and you give me such a good outlook on any situation. That's the best compliment.
Beautiful, beautifully said. All right, can I give a little summary back as to just like what I learned about Andrew today?
Yeah,
that was a blast.
Yeah.
What I kind of visually am piecing together, something that I noticed today that was very unique to you was at a very young age, you captured an understanding for, as you said, how to set yourself up for success. And in doing that and kind of seeing the world through resources, through finite resources, it gave you an understanding for like, and I don't want to say it was just this, right? I do think it was largely nature as well, just talking to you, because you really do just exude this lust for life, as Rhea said, like really so perfectly. But I think the beautiful thing in how you brought it home was, yes, you have all these ambitions, and yes, you have this curiosity and this creativity that you want to maximize. But at the end of the day, you want to make people feel better about themselves. And amongst all of that calculation of resources and your time and what you're doing with it, that love language that you are very generous to share vulnerably with us is quality time. In all of that hustle and all of that speed and all of that pace, the bright spots are those blocks that
Yeah.
shine the brightest. And that's so cool.
No, I think you summarize it great. And like even something that my therapist shared with me recently is just like, yeah, everyone's busy, but you make time for the things that you want to make time for,
It's true.
and no one's ever too busy to do what they want.
It's
And
true.
that's just hard facts.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, Andrew, thank you for sharing your story with us today. We've arrived at that time where you now get to honor somebody else. Do you know who you'd like to honor today?
Yes, I do. It's one of my very, very, very best friends, and her name is Chloe, and she's a
Okay.
fellow Aussie expat of mine who lives in New York. She's one of my best friends.
Right on. And tell us a little bit about your relationship with Chloe. Like, how did you meet her, and who is she in your
Yeah.
life today?
Funnily enough, I've known her twin sister from when I was 18. Yeah, when I was like 18, I met her twin sister at university, and it wasn't until I moved to New York and then was told to connect with Chloe via her sister, and then we
Uh-huh.
hung out, and it was like a Friday in summer, and we like were kind of jigging work. It was like, it was a pretty low key day. We were like on a rooftop in Brooklyn and having like a 3 hour incredible conversation, like eating pizza and like having a drink, and we just clicked. We just clicked like that.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Is Chloe's sister a little jealous now of how close you guys have become?
Yeah, yeah. People are always jealous of when I become better friends with them when they connect with them. I'm just kidding. All right, I'm ready to go when you are.
All right. When you see the camera go.
Chloe, I honor you for your loyalty. I think since the first day we met, something clicked, and we realized we would have a lifelong inseparable friendship. You are someone that I turn to on a daily basis for your judgment, wisdom, knowledge, and shared lust for life that I think you and I really take pride in and value towards our outlook, especially as expats in our current situation. You are just an incredible person. You are super talented. You have so much creative potential to unlock and fulfill. And I feel like you are a chosen sister that I get to walk by side through this crazy, smoky chaos of life that we currently are living in. And at the end of the day, I just really, really, really value you and honor you again for your loyalty. You are someone that I depend on and need in this life. So I hope you take this message with a little bit of joy and enjoy your time with Jen.
Thanks again to Andrew for this incredible episode. I wish I was processing faster. He was just dropping nuggets every other sentence, and I couldn't make the connections and turn them into questions quickly enough. I imagine in a short conversation like the one that we just had, Andrew can be a bit tough to relate to, because in the conversation, it felt that way for me. But as I reflected on the conversation, I was eventually able to see how Andrew looks at life that makes him so unique. I think Andrew looks at life like an infinite lane highway. He leapfrogs his way across the world, much like he does in his career development, and however much time he spends in a lane is just part of his life adventure. For me, it was hard to relate in the moment because I look at life like one road with infinite destinations. But there are several techniques that he shared that I think are worthwhile to adopt, and I'll share a couple of those with you now. First, I'm kind of combining a couple of things that he said, but he said use everything and be willing to put yourself out there and accept the outcome. He said if it doesn't work out, it will work out, because if it doesn't work out, it's not the end. There are a lot of reasons that make this hard, a lot of legitimate reasons. A couple that Andrew and I discussed were fear and other people trying to fit you into a mold. But when it comes to his life advice about rejection just being redirection, what I learned from Andrew is what you have, an idea, a dream, a vision, a goal, combined with the lessons you learn along the way, aka failure, rejection, will get you the result that you seek. Use everything and be willing to accept the outcome. The second thing, and this might sound kind of similar to Kate's summary, is that Andrew uses optimism as a tool. He said, I will always choose what if over I'm scared. He said, imagine what's on the other side, or imagine a life of what ifs. That made me think of a research study that I had seen that revealed a majority of people regret the actions that they didn't take over any actions that they did, because we most regret not even trying to become the person that we feel we could have become. In the times in life when I feel paralyzed by the weight of a decision, I will think of Andrew and I will reconsider that decision in terms of what if instead of I'm scared. That's it for today's episode. I'd love to hear what stood out to you in my conversation with Andrew today. A little heads up, we're going to be going on a little bit of a break with 5 live questions. I think there's going to be a little bit of a delay before we're able to get an interview with Chloe, but also we're pivoting the podcast just a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of a delay as I find the people for the next run of 5 live questions. I will see you guys shortly. In the meantime, remember, it's never a bad time to reach out to somebody that you've been meaning to reconnect with. Thanks, guys.